we will have the chance to receive two great and awesome people, Drees and Gabriele Bartolini, who have done so many stuff that it's very impossible to resume that into some seconds or some minutes. So let's try to be brief. Flor is the awesome part of the organization, part for PGD Lowlands and so many other stuff. Gabriele was part of the founding members of Postgres Europe and Postgres Conference Europe. So thank you both, and you will tell us about the story behind Cloud Native Postgres being outsourced to the foundation behind it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Stefan. So the first commit. Oh.
We just have to start.
We haven't even done anything yet, you know, like it's already a good vibe. So the first commit to the Cloud Native PG project was made in February 2020. And just 2 years later, EDB began the process of donating the project to the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. And this move wasn't just symbolic, it was a very strategic move to make sure that the project would benefit from the guidance of a broader and more diverse community of contributors. Today, Cloud Native PG is a CNCF, that's short for Cloud Native Computing Foundation, sandbox project, and our hope is to start the process to get to the next level of maturity by the end of next year. But how did we get here, and what does donating a project to a foundation actually look like? We're about to give you a very honest and sort of like candid view behind the curtains. All right, who is we though?
So yeah, welcome everyone here. I'm Gabriele Bartolini, and I'm VP Chief Architect for Kubernetes at EDB. I'm an active Postgres contributor, and I'm also a CNCF maintainer for Cloud Native PG, and a proud Data on Kubernetes ambassador.
Awesome. My name is Flora. I'm based in the Netherlands. I'm a principal program manager at EDB, working with and in the open source community. Relevant for the topic of the presentation is that I am a component owner for Cloud Native PG since spring this year. Not very relevant is I'm organizing PG karaoke tonight, so if you're interested in karaoke, hit me up later. Of course, yeah. So I think we've all seen, you know, like in recent history, what happened to company-owned open source projects. It starts with fantastic, intentions, hopes, and dreams. But companies sometimes get acquired, and objectives might change. And we wanted to really make sure that Cloud Native PG lives beyond EDB and will be free forever. You might remember the story from MySQL, right? Like in our community, we were very aware of that story. It was created by a Swedish company, then that Swedish company got bought by Sun Microsystems in 2008, and then Oracle, of course, acquired Sun in 2010. There were some concerns about sort of like Sun's position as a competitor to Oracle. There was some antitrust regulators that got involved in the conversation, open source advocates, customers were concerned, employees were concerned. The European Commission actually delayed the acquisition by quite a little bit because there were some questions about Oracle's plans for MySQL, since that was the main competitor to Oracle database. But of course, it went through in the end, as we all know. But the day that Oracle really announced that they acquired Sun, one of the original maintainers of MySQL forked the project, launching MariaDB and taking a lot of developers with him. He also started a petition that MySQL would be either diverse to a third party or would adopt a different type of license that would be less restrictive. Today, there is the MariaDB Foundation and there is MariaDB the company. Those are two very separate things. The company makes profits from developing proprietary products that are related to MariaDB. If MySQL had been managed under a neutral, non-profit foundation, it likely wouldn't have, transpired quite the same way. Because if you separate governance in a foundation from commercial activities in a company, you can protect a company's community and technical direction, regardless of, potential corporate mergers or business pressures. So bringing that back to Cloud Native PG, donation to the CNCF prevents any of that from ever, entering the discussion. Oh, thank you for, advancing the slides. That's so great. about it, it's this bringing it a little closer to sort of my interest. About a year ago, I was exploring the possibility of maybe starting a foundation to centralize support for Postgres ecosystem projects like extensions, together with David Wheeler when we were both still at Tembo. I see a couple of people in the room actually that we had some exploratory conversations with. And of course, we then looked at Cloud Native PG, the project, because we thought it could probably benefit from some sort of like vendor-neutral hub thing that would help in the future development of the project. Now, you will notice that I don't work at Tembo anymore, and also David doesn't work at Tembo anymore. Foundation was never launched, but we're still seeing the same problems. Like there's single vendors that are very invested in projects, and some critical software that is maintained by sometimes a single individual or a small group of people that might not have quite the time to invest in the project, even if it's very critical to some people's businesses. You might have heard that story from yesterday's keynote as well. And I watched Cloud Native PG go the foundation route from the sidelines, and it made total sense, right? Since joining EDB, I had the chance to talk to some of the maintainers, and I learned what it means to donate a project to a foundation, and I suggested to Gabriele to maybe come and talk about it. So that's where we are today. But maybe people in the Postgres community don't quite know the Cloud Native Computing Foundation or the Linux Foundation for that matter. So let's look at those a little bit, and you'll understand why donating into another foundation like Eclipse Foundation or what are the other one, Apache Software Foundation, wouldn't quite fit. All right, real quick. So Linux Foundation is a non-profit technology consortium that was founded in 2000. Its mission is to support the growth from Linux and open source software by fostering collaboration between developers, companies, and other sort of like organizations. It's very focused around providing governance, funding, infrastructure, legal support, events also, if you've been to any of the Linux Foundation events. And over time, it has expanded to support more than just Linux. It hosts a wide variety of open source projects. And maybe some of the more well-known initiatives that live under the Linux Foundation are LF Edge for edge computing or OpenJS for JavaScript projects. So Cloud Native Computing Foundation, or CNCF for short, is founded in 2015 as a project under the Linux Foundation. So it's not its own foundation technically. It is a project under a foundation, specifically because they saw the rise of cloud native technologies, especially like containerization and microservices. And they thought that it would require, those projects would require some open governance and community-driven standards. So today serves as a vendor-neutral home for some of those projects. I mean, best known, of course, for hosting the Kubernetes project, but also various other projects like Prometheus and Envoy.
OpenTelemetry.
OpenTelemetry.
We can continue.
Okay, yeah. We only have 25 minutes, though.
Exactly.
Document DB, true.
Yeah, which the operator uses Cloud Native PG, by the way. Document DB operator. Anyway, yeah, so a bit of timeline. So Cloud Native PG was originally conceived 6 years ago in 2019, when in August, Simon Riggs, the former CEO of Second Quadrant, called me. I was ready to go on vacation, and he asked me to lead this, to start this initiative. So you can imagine the enthusiasm of that, okay? But I think given that my team had a very long-running experience on DevOps practices, we had been following Kubernetes for a long time. But the game changer for us was the introduction of local persistent volumes in Kubernetes 1.14 in April 2019, together with a more consistent and standard adoption of the operator pattern in the industry. So we began an exploratory phase with a fail-fast approach, and we wanted to build an operator that would rely on light images, what we call immutable application containers, to be entirely declarative and to be tightly integrated with the Kubernetes API server. By December 29, we had achieved results well beyond our expectations in every area. And most notably, Kubernetes on bare metal was performing almost identically to Linux on bare metal. Then, we started this productization phase, first with bidirectional replication. So we built an operator for BDR, for multi-master replication, and we released it in January 2020. And in February 2020, we began refactoring that code into a new product, which was called Cloud Native Postgres. We published some of the results of how the technology was working for us at Second Quadrant, and that caused the Data on Kubernetes community founders to reach out to me and asking to present the technology. But at the time, we began the due diligence with the acquisition of ADB, so we had other topics to worry about. And in September, ADB acquired Second Quadrant, and the project actually, I was able, for example, to fully concentrate on engineering, and it was further developed, and we released the first stable release in February. Then in December 2020, I started to write a first proposal to open source Cloud Native PG at ADB. So we started an evaluation process for this open sourcing, of the project. In 21, the project kept growing, and in the meantime, I changed my role to be a bit more strategic at ADB. And in January 22, I was able, with support of my manager, who was actually here, and I ask you to stand up, Joseph and Ben, please, both of you. They were very supportive. With Paul Lucchesi, thanks, Joseph. And they were very supportive, and we started this process to basically donate the project to a community of users. So when I presented the project to the board, the arguments were that there was no Postgres project in the CNCF landscape yet, that it would increase the adoption of Postgres. We had this motto to run Postgres everywhere at ADB back then, that we also had the ambition to become the de facto standard for Postgres in Kubernetes. And for ADB, we believe that would have meant visibility, more visibility, and the perception of technology leadership in the database on Kubernetes area as the original creators of this project. So, as I said, we were able to get the approval, and on April 21st, 2022, we were able to open source the software. We renamed it Cloud Native Postgres into Cloud Native PG because of trademark clash that could have happened by donating the project to the CNCF. We released it under Apache license, and we kept the whole history of commits. So we didn't do the mistake we did with Barman, that you see the first commit that has thousands of lines, okay? So one of the goals of ADB was to form, together with the open sourcing of the project, a vendor-neutral community. So part of the open source was to form, to define the guidelines of open governance that are based on the CNCF principles and values of vendor neutrality and transparent governance.
Yeah, there's just a screenshot of a blog post that very starry-eyed Gabriele posted. Today is the accumulation of years of hard work at ADB and the beginning of a new phase in the multi-decade evolution of Postgres and its community. Beautiful. You didn't use AI for that, I'm sure. No. Also, in the article, you quoted ACD saying, it's a long way to the top. Yes. That if you were accepted to the CNCF program, that would mean a start of a journey and certainly not the end. It was a bit of foreshadowing too, because the first application didn't quite make it.
Exactly. It was a nightmare. Anyway, because you might think that it's easy to submit a project to the CNCF. Well, we first tried and we failed. Okay, the application didn't get accepted, but we kept working. And in October last year, we tried again. After the project reached 4,500 stars, and at that point became the most popular operator for Postgres in Kubernetes by number of stars. Okay, and the application was fortunately approved in January 25 this year, and Cloud Native PG was the first Postgres project to become part of the CNCF. And what I really like is that this year we, through the Linux Foundation, we have access to a lot of services, and we were able to start our first cohort in the Linux Foundation mentorship program with a mentee that contributed to the declarative management of foreign data wrappers and foreign servers in Postgres. And now we have a second round with chaos testing, and we are contributed to Litmus Chaos, for example, which is another CNCF project, and the documentation. So, but what does it mean to be a sandbox project? So this is actually the graduation ladder of the CNCF. There are 3 levels: sandbox, incubation, and graduation, which corresponds to innovators, early adopters, and early majority tiers of the crossing the chasm diagram from Geoffrey Moore's book. Here you see that the maturity level is a kind of a signal by the CNCF as to what sorts of enterprises should be adopting different projects. Projects increase their maturity by demonstrating their sustainability to the CNCF TOC, Technical Oversight Committee. They need to prove that they have adoption, healthy rate of changes, and that committers are coming from multiple organizations. That's just the last step. Okay, so many people ask me, but only ADB is a major contributor of the project. It's not a drama. That's the CNCF that actually states that clearly, that sandbox and incubation, it is fine to have a single major contributor. The graduation requires more. Okay, so and this, as I said, as Flor said, our goal is to get to incubation next year. So if you want to donate a project to the CNCF, now the situation is much easier because you have a GitHub project where you can apply, you can open an issue, and the whole process is transparent. When we tried the first time, there was a spreadsheet, so that's actually our application in the spreadsheet, and we were reviewed. Okay, and the reason for the rejection was that there are already other operators, and the CNCF can't be a kingmaker. Okay, so of course we disagreed with that because I think they failed to look at the operators' licenses, the governance model. Anyway, but as I said, instead of giving up, we decided to work from the ground. So we engaged with the community, and we started to work closely with the CNCF. We started to talk more and get accepted to KubeCon, which is very important. And Leonardo Cecchi, who's not here, started to work with Tag Storage, the technical advisory group for storage, and was able to improve the volume snapshot feature for Kubernetes. And he actually wrote the volume group snapshot feature that is becoming GA in Kubernetes 135 this month. Okay. Cloud Native PG is now, fortunately, under the CNCF. There's a CNCF trademark, which also meant that EDB had to change the name of the product. And so the other good thing is that we were already ready when we applied in terms of governance. So we had already adopted all the best practices from day one that the CNCF was preaching about. And we introduced component owners 1.5 years ago, and Flor is one of them. And the governance model has become more and more complicated, but it will change. And as part of it, the incubation process, we want it to be reviewed.
Yeah, just a nice little benefit of trying to donate anything is that your users will say really nice things about you. And some people are in this room, so thank you for saying all of those nice things about our baby.
But of course, it's not all, smooth sailing since we entered the sandbox. Okay, with more visibility, you get also more people submitting a PR. For example, an hour ago, I had to shut down a PR completely done by AI with the submitter say, I don't know any Go, but I applied. The Copilot did this patch. Okay, so we rejected. Okay. So, but it's just that it's kind of a hard job, and I like to quote Chris Arnicic, who was the CNCF CTO. So, if I pronounce it correctly, I don't know, but anyway, we have a real need for maintainers that are people that review and maintain, not just add more shiny stuff to a project. So contributors that when they, as I said before, they add stuff, we need to make sure that they add documentation, they test, and they review, again before they submit. Otherwise, they flood our backlog. So as maintainers, there's responsibility to make sure that people know documentation and test better their stuff before it gets pushed. This is a very nice talk by Dims, who works for Amazon, and Tim Hockin, who worked for Google. There are sometimes big feelings, and people forget that behind GitHub accounts there are also volunteers. I'm thankful to EDB because I'm really lucky that that I'm paid to work also on open source stuff, and like many other people at EDB, fortunately. But there are also folks that work on their spare time too. And we can lose the cool sometimes, and this talk is about that, okay? What is important, I think, we perceive the frustration of people that try to propose some patches. And it's important that we say no to things today so that we can afford to do interesting things tomorrow, as Tim says. And this is a quote from Solomon Hykes, the founder of Docker, that the first rule of open source is that no is temporary, but when we say yes, that's forever. That's why we need to be careful when we push stuff inside an adopted open source project like Cloud Native PG is now.
Right. Real quick, wrapping it up because I got the 5-minute note 3 minutes ago. So as said, we're trying to go for the incubation status, really trying to get more contributing companies and contributors that work for different companies on board to help us out with that. We've done a couple of these mentor cohorts, and we'll definitely continue doing that. It's also a great opportunity for people in the community to get involved with a real project, so we're really happy that we can do something like that. We're very involved in the conversation, what needs to be done in upstream Postgres and what needs to be done in upstream Kubernetes, and it's an interesting conversation to have. We had that conversation 2 days ago when there was a Postgres on Kubernetes summit here during the Community Events Day. There's the work on version 1.28, and we're presenting a couple of new capabilities and features at KubeCon North America later this year, or next month, right? There's a bit of a call to action. If you use Cloud Native PG or you're implementing it for a customer, please add your name to the adopters list, because of course we don't know all of the people that are using the software. And likely I will reach out to you to see if we can do maybe a little interview together or a little case study together for the blog. And I promise you that's a good time, And if you're interested in the development of the project and you might want to get involved, you can join the CNCF Slack and find the channels that are prefixed with Cloud Native PG in the name. You can join our office hours if you have any questions, or you can join the community developer meetings if you want to talk about the more sort of meta topics around the projects and want to get involved in the community. We would love for some feedback on this session, make sure that it's more relevant for a Postgres audience, so please give feedback. Remember, positive feedback is feedback too. Thank you. And end with a couple of fun facts that I'm not going to spell out, but you can read. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks very much. We have a few. We have 5 minutes for questions.
Excellent.
So that's perfect. Does anyone have any question? That will be a very fast Q&A session then.
This is a little unfair of me because I used to work for the CNCF. So now I'm just really, really curious because I guess, is there anything about that application and acceptance process that was not transparent to you? Like, is there anything you think the CNCF could have improved upon?
I think no, it's not. It wasn't transparent because actually it was recorded and it's all there. Okay, there's actually a video when they mentioned Kingmaker. I think that the TOC at that time was swamped with applications, and they were struggling. And I think we were probably unlucky that day. They didn't have. They have probably too many applications to look, and I think they didn't look at ours deeply enough. Okay, I don't think they were focused enough on our application, in my opinion. But we just went ahead, and I think the best recognition was the one from the community and the industry, which is what matters in the end. And that's what I think 2 years after convinced everyone that this project, not only because they actually asked us, why do you apply for Sandbox? You should be already in the incubation. But we said, no, baby steps. We want to apply for the Sandbox first, and then from there we move on, okay?
Nice. I also just wanted to emphasize that for the incubation and graduation process, those adopter testimonials are actually incredibly important to them.
Please.
So like you really, 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 really should get in contact with Flora and
Celeste.
really, really, really should fill those out.
Thank you for that.
Is there any other question? If no, I would probably like to finalize that on that. And that's a thought, not a question, sorry. But it reflects what Celeste just said. And during the talk, you thanked your management to let you contribute. So it's message for the video, message for everyone here. A community, building a community, needs people. So please help and join the efforts. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I must say that without, I mean, not because he's here, I would have said that anyway.
But a little bit because he's here.
But also at that time, Joseph was very supportive, and also Ben, who was now my manager, but he wasn't at the time, but he was still supportive, but the whole team was. And yeah, but it's, I think, very rare now to see a company that embraces that philosophy. So I'm really happy because it's for the future of Postgres. I believe that we are making Postgres younger with this initiative again. Okay, so, and cool. To me, it's always been cool. But anyway, thanks.